This is my final reflection for the class Leadership and Accessible Technologies. I have written some notes, so if you see me just kind of glancing around, I'm just looking back into my notes. And my cameras or my face is a bit below, so if I end up looking at myself and it doesn't look like I'm looking at anything, that is probably why. Anyways, let's begin. So, to my professor, Janie Butler, I just want to start off by saying thank you for leading such an important class. This class, Leadership and Accessible Technology, is the reason why I feel RIT is known for being such a diverse college community. It is filled with many individuals of different backgrounds, ages, disabilities, experiences, which contributed to the overall success of such a class. The book that surrounded this class, Restricted Access, Media, Disability, and the Politics of Participation by Elizabeth L. Sessorn, was a perfect fit for learning about the integration or lack thereof accessibility in digital media and cultural understanding. During this class, I got the opportunity to work on projects that allowed me to dive deeper into the world we live in today and really break down the barriers and struggles that many individuals face with disabilities, physical conditions, and just differences in general. The project that allowed me to break down peer experiences was Project One, interviewing a person with a disability and their access or inaccess to supportive technologies. Being face to face with someone who has lived experiences of disabilities, inaccessibility, and misunderstanding reiterates the importance of creating a space that is accessible for everyone. You hear about the struggles they have experienced and wonder how individuals could endure such things, but this is their life and they are living and experiencing the world misunderstanding and negligence has built and made normal. I used to go about the world kind of thinking that, they were doing their best with accessibility. I found that, okay, if someone cannot hear a video, well, they have captions. Not all videos do come with captions, and I kind of just went through life not really thinking too much about it. Sometimes it can be annoying. Let's say if I am in a place that I cannot play a video out loud, but I don't have any like headphones or earbuds or anything. So I would prefer to put on captions, and then a video doesn't have captions, and that makes me just annoyed. Versus other people who are unable to hear the audio in general, and not having those captions to even be included and get access to the information. I talk about my one experience that I may have, while for others, this is their continuous life. Um, I would say that I have, at least because I am in the web industry, I do notice accessibility, at least in web based. But then when you really think about it outside of that, so growing up back home, I never really thought much about accessibility. We didn't really have people who had physical disabilities or disabilities that was visual, or at least anybody that talked about it. So it didn't seem to be something that was an issue. And this type of experience is definitely something that a lot of people may face. So now there is a lack of information and knowledge that is being spread around. So when someone like me now is in a position of experiencing all the different types of peoples and all the different disabilities that individuals may face, someone like me who may not have such knowledge would come into it feeling a bit unwary or feeling a bit confused or maybe even judgmental. Um, I did come into RC with a bit more of an open mind. I did feel a bit different than a lot of the individuals back home, so it was not too difficult to come into such a diverse community. But, other individuals, such as my siblings or the people like my friends and community back home, if they were to come up here, their experience and their understanding would be a lot different than mine's of when I came up here. And so, even having this type of mindset or this type of go at how what I kind of experienced with the lack of understanding of accessibility, taking a class such as this and really learning and diving deeper into why accessibility and access is so important really did kind of open me up to realizing, okay, maybe we're not doing so good right now with allowing ourselves to be accessible. Um, One quote I would like to say from Elizabeth that she talked about was from page 2. It states, Google's explanation of auto captioning acknowledges that captions would be imperfect, but asserted that they were better than nothing. From the point of view of viewers with auditory disabilities, however, as clearly demonstrated in caption fail videos, which we did get the chance to watch and kind of really understand what individuals are facing when it comes to captions and caption fails, auto captions may in fact have been worse than nothing. And an individual firsthand reading this with no prior knowledge and understanding of accessibility may read this and sort of disagree, right? You would think, well, some captions is better than no captions. But when a caption is misinforming you and becoming too understanding, it really shows the negligence that people who are not experiencing these things do have. It makes them feel a bit different, a bit less than, a bit unimportant. And I feel like those feelings are definitely what weighs down and makes even having the auto captions worse than nothing, right? It diminishes them and their abilities and their way of living, you know? Um, so this is definitely something that would probably reinforce the negligence that they are already facing, with the point of that, they have something already, right? They have these tools, they have these types of resources. Yet that term, they have these resources. I feel that when it comes to accessibility in today's world, it shouldn't be something that they have to now grab for access, right? It should be something that's already there, already existing, already implemented. So it doesn't seem like it's something that they have to go out and reach. This is to point out the assumption that access or accessibility is something that must be possessed or had, must be challenged. So when you go out and you see other individuals talking about, oh, well, you know, at least there's captions. When you go into a movie theater and you want to watch a movie, is there captions? A movie theater experience is something that a lot of us get to live, right? You wake up and you're like, let's go to movie theaters today. It's not something that you second guess or something that you have to dive too deeply into thinking. Yet, someone, an individual who has an auditory um, disability or limitation may have to second. They have to wonder, well, am I going to a theater that has these accessible technologies? Am I going to a theater that includes these types of captions? What about for individuals who are blind or has low vision but can hear? Can they go to a theater and experience these normal experiences that you and I may experience? These are thoughts that I feel that you must think about and you must keep in your head when you think about the norm or the access that they may have. Another quote by El Cesor stated, which kind of reiterates what I was talking about. A second commonality lies in the tendency to talk about access or accessibility as something that can be possessed or had. These assumptions must be challenged in order to build robust theorization of access as they threaten to constrain analysis through their positivist slants. Alcesor was she interviewed 50 individuals and their experiences and summarized their findings in order to write this book, right? Restricted Access. And this proves the importance of understanding um, lived experiences must be central to any analysis of media accessibility. Hearing first person stories expose gaps and technical fixes alone often miss, which is something that we did get to experience. Hearing about the person that I interviewed experiences really opened me up to some of the struggles that our peers here at RIT are facing, right? Things that are not talked about, things that you don't know that others are going through, right? Something that might be even hidden, not visual, with disabilities that you cannot see, yet they are living. And when you go through life like that and you don't create a space that feels welcoming for them, and you're like, okay, well, I didn't know. Why should you have known beforehand? Why shouldn't you have just made these things already accessible to these individuals? It shouldn't be something that you need the information first to then implement. It should be something that is already implemented. In this class, we were surrounded by deaf, hard of hearing individuals, individuals with physical disabilities, and vision disabilities, someone with low vision. Um, and Dion had low vision. And finding out through her husband that this was not something she was born with. When they first met, she had full vision, right? She could see clearly. There was never much struggle needing to see, and this was something that had developed over time. And so, thinking about what she may be feeling as someone who has had vision and now is losing, and now she goes into the world in a different light. She can see areas where people were facing inaccess, right? People were facing all of these challenges and misunderstandings, and how she had to build a world that can better fit her. Um, Seeing how she struggled within the classroom to have access to certain information, the tools that she now must use, having two interpreters, really does open one up to realizing how important these situations can be, how important it is to have access for all individuals. I feel like RIT primarily focuses on the deaf and hard of hearing community, since that is one of our biggest communities here. But what about individuals like Dion, who has low vision? How are we incorporating a space for her as well? Being surrounded by a deaf community did kind of have a slight impact on me. It opened me up to other individuals and their own experiences and their own knowledge and information and personalities. But then I could also feel the impact of not being able to fully understand what they're talking about, not being able to implement myself into conversations or read vibes and kind of understand, okay, what's kind of happening, what's talking, when can I speak, what can I speak about, who they are really. When someone talks to you, you can really gather a lot from them. You can gather their personality, their vibe, how they're feeling by when they just speak to you, when you can understand them. Not being able to understand the individuals in the classroom really puts me in a position of, well, where do I stand? How can I really implement myself into conversations? And just thinking about what I'm experiencing and how they must experience when they go outside of their communities and they're into a world that is hearing and primarily focuses on hearing individuals, how they must be feeling when they are not able to understand conversations or implement themselves in, seeing under groups of people coming and collaborating together and not being able to join in on that. That's definitely something I also see in my classes that have deaf individuals, but it's primarily a hearing class. And seeing that they tend to not have their inputs validated, or no one asks them, hey, what are you thinking? Because, well, they can't talk to them, right? So that was something that I definitely had to realize while taking this class, and I hope it's something that you're also still realizing as you go through life in your other classes and your other environments as well. Um, the things that I learned this semester definitely gave me some steps, some future steps as a leader that works now with access. So these are some things that I'll be talking about that will be kind of how I will be leading with New Light. Learning about all of these topics and all of these situations was great. But now I wonder how I can take action and implement my understanding. Currently, I do not find myself as an extroverted leader, nor do I have much interest right now in participating in rallies and protests. But I do recognize their importance, but that's not how I want to make my voice heard. Here are three goals I have. I hope that you have implemented or will be working on implementing. Mm. One, advocate for additional communities within events. So, when you're hosting an event for work or any of your clubs, how can you ensure we are getting a diverse range of individuals? A lot of times, you see a lot of these events don't feel welcoming for others. You don't feel welcoming for queer individuals, for black individuals, for Asian individuals, for deaf individuals, or low vision individuals, physical people with physical disabilities or limitations. Maybe it might not be welcoming for people of a smaller size, of a bigger size. There's a lot of times where you can notice that these events are so geared towards one group of people that it outcasts the rest. So, how can you ensure that um, you're kind of building a community that reaches out to all of these different individuals? Ensure that all the events you partake in include accessibility considerations for these diverse communities. So, is there ramp access? Can individuals who are in wheelchairs or motorized devices or vehicles, um, can they have access to this event? Can deaf or hard of hearing individuals have access to this event? Is there interpreters on standby? Will there be a way to get interpreters or to get captioning if there's videos included? Something that you can do to help implement this goal would be to develop checklists for accessibility in features such as captioning, sign language interpreters, or physical access. So you have a checklist. If this event or this engagement includes some of these accessible features, that's something that you can check off, right? So you can create something that would check, okay, am I fitting the requirements that I feel that event needs to have to be accessible? Um, and if not, point it out. Let the other individuals know, especially when you're the one who is hosting this event. How can you make sure that these people are getting noticed? What must you do to ensure that you're reaching all of these communities? Two, informational access website project. Use your skills that you have owned and mastered to educate others. You're into building websites and creating spaces that showcase some knowledge and information. Use that. Many individuals have no exposure to people with disabilities and the access required. Spread the news. Um, Create a space that incorporates all of your understanding, the things that you have learned, and the things that are important to teach others. Um, Identify topics where knowledge gaps exist. So, back home, talk about the importance of having wheelchair accessible doors that you press the button and open. Have you ever met a door back home that has this technology built in? Is there any kind of other routes for people who are in wheelchairs to get around, to get access into these spaces? Talk about how it's important. Spread that website. Um, You can consult interviews with disability people with individuals with disabilities and physical limitations. Gather and document their experiences through surveys and interviews. Really understand the community and what they're facing, what they're lacking, and what they're struggling with, and inform others of what they can do to make others' lives more inclusive. Check in with RIT space. Do other students know the struggles their peers may face in their day to day lives here at RIT? Do they know the inaccess that RIT is creating for other individuals? Um, I think spreading that kind of knowledge and understanding is very, very important for those here around us. And three, speak up. When you face a lack of understanding within organizations and communities, ensure everyone's voices are heard and understood. If their video has no captions, let them know and discuss its importance, right? Mm-mm. You can create tools like templates and resources that make accessible communication easier to adopt. So, some of these changes can be big, they can be challenging to implement. So, how can you break them up so that they are digestible and easier for them to implement? You wouldn't want to force a small organization to have to drop thousands of dollars in order to create a space, especially not in one moment. Um, if they can slowly build up to becoming this fully accessible space, how can you start that process? Encourage use of multiple communication formats. So, something that I have experienced while taking this class was the professor displaying notes in different mediums, different ways of accessing the same information, not changing it, not editing it, the same information in different forms so that everyone can have access to it. Educate others in the importance of including such a technology, including these different formats. To display or share information. Maybe you are now someone who wants to be not only a face but a voice in rallies and protests, being a part of a change even though no one may know your name. You demand accountability, ensuring that you leave a clear, actionable trail towards inclusion. Regardless, I hope these goals don't just sit on this page or in this video, but help you live in a norm that is knowledgeable and accessible. In conclusion, this class and this book, Restricted Access by Elizabeth Elsesor, definitely have reshaped my understandability of accessibility, not as a fixed possession, but or simple checklist, but as a dynamic, ongoing practice rooted deeply in lived experiences. Engaging with deaf and hard of hearing students and those with low vision like Dion, I have come to see just how little we have really come to digging out the problems with accessibility. There's much more to accessibility than technical fixes alone. Without having experiences of my own to speak out on, with the knowledge I carry, I hope to be a source of information and awareness for my community. Commit time to to advocating for inclusion in every space you influence, whether at work or at club events you help run. I have regular crochet hooks for club members and hooks and needles to use, but I hope you have ergonomic and wrist friendly ones as well. Not every move you make has to be loud and in your face, but it can be quiet, strategic, and persistent. A quote that Alyssa states that I feel is definitely very important and something that you should keep in mind states access must encompass use and it must be conceived of not as an object or state of being, but as what disability scholar J. Dalmage refers to as a way to move. in the world. It is not an end goal, but is a process of fits and starts, accommodations and innovations, learned skills, and puzzling interfaces. To my future self, remember that real change comes from listening, learning, and acting with empathy and intention. Let these goals I have left for you guide you in everyday practice, because accessibility is not a destination but a journey we must walk together.